So we're picking right from where we saw the last chapter end, but we're seeing GAROU straight up using the Aurora Skyripping fist, and I'm gonna talk more about this later in the video because I think it's really important now that it looks like Metal Bat is out of the fight, or at the very least maybe taking a break, right? Because we can't forget it took both Bang and Bomb to use this technique, and yet we're seeing GAROU do it like no problem. But even more than that, it looks like GAROU is actually able to break some of the exoskeleton, or at least it looks like that based on how we're seeing Sage Centipede regenerate his face. But you can notice these bits and pieces fly off after GAROU does this, so I'm curious if GAROU actually damaged the exoskeleton and it's just Sage is just so fast at regenerating it didn't even matter. But like I said, I'll talk more about this towards the end of the video because I think this could be where we see the next chapter end up going. And meanwhile, Metal Bat is also rushing at him using the savage tornado attack, but then we get some monologue by Sage. He says something really important here. He says the half monster is a nuisance, but the one wielding a stick is not an issue. So I like that one is indirectly telling us that between GAROU and Metal Bat, it's GAROU who's dealing the most damage here. Even Metal Bat notices he really isn't that effective, and then GAROU yells at him. He says, "You can't even put a scratch on that thing, Meathead Bat. If you don't start putting in some work, I'll kill you." And this is kind of funny. Sage is just watching them during this, and he was initially thinking of taking Metal Bat as a hostage, but after seeing GAROU threaten to kill him, he's just like, oh, never mind, I guess that's not gonna work. And I appreciate that this is ultimately showing us that not just how freakishly strong GAROU is, but also how technical and versatile his skill is. I mean, this is something we already knew, but after seeing GAROU just blitz through Evil Natural Water, Platinum S, and then Flashy Flash, it's like you almost forget GAROU is a genius when it comes to combat. It's not just about breaking his limiter or how gifted he is. But then we're seeing the chopper again where Waganma and Tario are, and Sage is just about to catch up to them at this point, but then we see One-Shotter fire at Sage from on board. He shoots at him but apparently misses because his dominant eye was damaged in his fight against Neon, if I remember correctly. And the heroes on board take notice it's Metal Bat fighting, but they also mistake GAROU for a hero. They just have no idea who he is specifically at this point. And then this is where everything gets really bad. Sage is able to stop the helicopter from flying, but we also see him use the Centipede Grand March against GAROU and Metal Bat. But during this, we're seeing Gearspur reach out to One-Shotter. He's one of the lower class psychics who was on the support team, and he's yelling at One-Shotter here, telling him that he'll be his dominant eye. And we've known ever since Fubuki was able to restore Genos that it's possible for psychics to use their abilities on others, whether that be to heal them, to protect them. I would assume it's a case-by-case scenario because we're seeing Gearspur use his power to somehow allow One-Shotter to take aim with his dominant eye again. And this conveniently happens right when GAROU is caught by Sage, and I really like this because this is one of the few times where we can see the difference in size between GAROU to Sage. It reminds me a lot of when we saw him against Orochi. And after One-Shotter is able to get his attention, GAROU's able to break out his grip and just starts dogging on him. But then we see one of the heroes ask, who the hell is that hero there? He's way too strong. And Taro's just like, I know him. So it's very obvious that this is a setup to GAROU's redemption arc, right? Because I think a lot of the community feels like GAROU was always intent on not just being a monster, but also abandoning his humanity to get there. And to put it in simpler terms, it's like GAROU wants his cake, but he wants to eat it too. So he wants to be a monster, but he doesn't want to abandon his humanity to get there. And I really hope that makes a lot of sense to you guys, right? Because this is something that was always being built on ever since we first met GAROU. This is why he doesn't want to kill people, because that's always been part of the bigger picture here. You become inhuman the moment you commit murder. And again, GAROU never wanted to become inhuman. What he wants is to become a monster. He wants humanity to exist so that they can fear him. So killing heroes or children or whoever is actually a conflict of interest for him. And now that we're seeing Tario speak up saying that he actually knows GAROU, I feel like this could all just be a setup for his redemption arc where, who knows, maybe GAROU actually ends up becoming a hero. Because now with witnesses like Tario who are speaking up, I can see GAROU actually becoming this public figure. I think even Metal Bat would take his side now that he's seeing GAROU do things only a hero would do. So after GAROU breaks free and starts trying to take the helicopter away from Sage, we're seeing Metal Bat burst through here. He's able to break one of his antenna-like things, and we get a really cool moment with Metal Bat. He says, "You sure beat me up as much as you liked and pumped me up with fighting spirit. A man is at his most powerful when he has somebody to protect." So I think this could be really heavy foreshadowing, right? Because we're very suddenly seeing Tario come back into the story, and it seems like Evil Ocean Water is still somehow alive. So if Evil Ocean Water is somehow able to threaten the helicopter again, or even Tario, I think this is what it'll take to push GAROU to that next level where we see him just get even more powerful just to protect Tario from Sage and Evil Ocean Water. Now, I can't be sure if that's what will happen exactly, but I'm confident that we're gonna somehow see Tario under threat again, and this will ultimately cause GAROU to further evolve into a full-fledged monster. So Metal Bat tells Garou to throw the helicopter into a net. He's able to secure Tadao and the rest of the support team 500 meters away from Sage Centipede. And getting back to the fight, Sage goes full aggro here, using the Grand Drill attack on them, but Garou using the Cross-Fang Dragon Slayer fist and Metal Bat using Savage Hurricane, they both react to this. And then we get some narration essentially telling us that even though Metal Bat isn't doing as much as Garou, their resonance is so on point that it's actually amplifying their results. So despite their different styles of fighting, it's the fact that they're so in sync that it allows them to cause more damage than if they were fighting alone. And then suddenly Metal Bat just straight up cracks some of his exoskeleton with one swing. So this is probably Metal Bat's biggest feat so far in the series, right? Because we just saw Garou use the Roaring Aura Fist that may or may not have done the same, but we're seeing Metal Bat actually about to accomplish the same feat, if not more than what the Roaring Aura Fist was able to do, which is insane to think about. And again, because they're so in sync, Garou's able to just rip a hole through Sage with one punch, but Metal Bat is also taken back. He goes flying backwards. And Sage notices he can't regenerate after this. It turns out Garou was able to rip out his core. This is going back to his fight against Orochi, where he noticed that they both have the same weakness. So Garou throws it into the air before Sage could get it back. We see them both shoot up into the sky, and meanwhile Metal Bat's on the ground at this point. It seems like he might be out of the fight for now. So this is curious because I mentioned how Garou was able to use the Roaring Aura Fist earlier, and just like how Metal Bat was able to crack his exoskeleton, so was Garou, I think. But now that it looks like Sage is gonna lose his core, I wonder if Garou is even capable of using the Roaring Aura Fist consecutively. I mean, I'm sure he can, but because we haven't seen it yet, and now that the core is most likely gonna be destroyed, I think now would be a good time to see Garou push himself to that next level, right? Where he can consecutively use the Roaring Aura Fist in repetition, since Sage won't be able to regenerate. Because at the moment, it seems like the only thing superior to the Roaring Aura Fist is probably the Monster Calamity Godslayer Fist, and if I had to guess, I think it'll be a while until we see Garou use that again. So if he can somehow master using the Roaring Aura in repetition against Sage, then who knows, maybe Garou can actually finish him off here. But overall, this was a really good chapter, especially after the last one where we got to see Saitama get his shine. I like that we're seeing a fully dedicated chapter to Metal Bat and Garou. But alright guys, I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what I had to say, then please leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And please let me know in the comments what you all think, what you agreed or disagreed with. And if you're interested in more One Punch Man videos, then make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing more here on the channel for sure. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching guys. Have a great day.